Hey guys, my name is Haley, and if my voice is a little scratchy, it's because I am getting over a cold, so I apologize if that's annoying, or if it randomly goes out. But I'm here to do a recently read video of all the books that I've read in the last month and a half or so. That's about how often I do these, so let's just get right on into it. And hopefully I won't have to talk for very long because my voice is already like, no. So first off, since my last wrap up, I DNF'd Ready Player One. I think I got to chapter like 4, which is only like 40-50 pages. I couldn't do it. I wasn't interested. I was like having to force myself to read it. And the only reason I was gonna read it is because the movie was coming out. But then I heard the movie was really different from the book anyway, and I just wasn't gonna force myself to read it if I was already not enjoying it, and I really didn't like the main character. I thought he was really whiny, so yeah, I DNF'd that. And then I picked up and read the entire Left Behind prequel trilogy, which the first one being The Rising, the second one being The Regime, and the third one being The Rapture, all by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins, who are the same authors of Left Behind. And I gave all 3 of these 4 stars. I really liked them, but they weren't quite as good as the original Left Behind series. But I did find the prequel very interesting, and like how Nikolai Carpathia came into power and how he was conceived, and just this first one was kind of really creepy, especially if you're a Christian. Like, it shows how dangerous it is to get involved in like things that claim to be religious but are actually demonic, which is all I'm gonna say without spoiling it, but it was really creepy. And The Rapture was really fun. We actually get to be in heaven for some of it, so that was really interesting, and I thought it was really a really cool interpretation of what heaven would be like. But I gave all these 4 stars. I'm really happy to have read them, and it really made me want to reread the Left Behind series. Next up, I read Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus by Nabil Qureshi? I don't know, I'm sorry if I completely butchered his name. But I absolutely loved this. This was really interesting because it takes you into the mindset of the Islam culture and how Muslims worship and how they view things, and it taught a lot about the Quran, which is is their holy book, their Bible. It was just so fascinating to read about a guy who grew up in that culture and moved a lot around the world and kept that culture until he came to university and met a friend of his who was a Christian and started speaking and witnessing to him about Jesus. And it was really interesting to see the debates going on between him and his family and his friend, and how he started to believe in the things of the Bible the more that he read it and compared it to the Quran, and it was just so fascinating. I felt like I learned so much about the Muslim culture, which I really didn't know a ton about, but yes, this was amazing. 5 out of 5 stars, highly recommend. I already really want to reread it and like tab it up because I just kind of flew through it. And then before the April-a-thon readathon, which is what the next couple books are from, I ended up DNFing Holy in the Moment on NetGalley. I can't remember the author's name, but I got it as like a Kindle thing, and the formatting was really weird. I didn't really think that the book was saying anything new in terms of Christian nonfiction, which I read a lot of, obviously, so I wasn't that interested in it, and I got about halfway through it before DNFing it. The next couple of books that I read, I'm just gonna quickly go through because I have 2 vlogs up covering all of them and my thoughts on them, but they were Tortured for Christ by Richard Wurmbrand, which I gave 3.5 stars. On the Fence by Casey West, which I gave, I believe, 3.5 stars. It was really cute. Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel, which I gave 4.5 stars. It was so good. I'm obsessed with this series. And if you want to hear more of my thoughts, I ramble about this a lot in those vlogs that I will link down below. And The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chokshi, which I gave, I want to say 3.75 stars too. But yes, if you want to hear any more thoughts on these, I talk about them a lot in my April-a-thon, readathon vlogs. And then during that readathon, which I actually didn't talk about that much in the vlog, I don't think, but I DNF'd The Winter's Crime by Marie Grutkoski because I don't care. And I didn't really like the first book that much. I think I gave the first one 3 stars, and I was gonna read this, and I tried to, and then I was just like, you know what? I don't care enough to, so yeah. And then I read 2 novellas. I read Binti and Binti Home through Overdrive from my library app. I gave Binti 2.5 stars. I thought it was really weirdly paced. And Binti herself, like as a character, did not feel very fleshed out at all. I didn't really like her, but I did find her culture fascinating, but I just felt like not enough happened. And then Binti Home, I gave 3 stars. It was a little bit better than the first one. I only read these because they were nominated for the BookTube SFF Awards, so I think there's only one more novella in that series, so I might read it, but I did not really like these first 2. And then me and Kate, which I mentioned in my April-a-thon vlog, we were buddy reading the Themis Files, so we buddy read Waking Gods by Sylvain Neuvel, and I straight up gave this 5 out of 5 stars, I'm pretty sure, because it was so good. I might have given it 4.75, but this took this series to a whole nother level, and I am so excited to read Only Human. You have no idea. I love this series. This probably made it to one of my favorite series of all time, so I love it. It's so good. And this author is not afraid to take it to like the next level and just kill people off, and it's just great. I did a buddy read with Tina. It was a reread for her and my first read of Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. This book is huge. It took us like, I don't know, a week and a half, which is about the normal length for our buddy reads, because it's 500 some pages. But I gave this, I think, 4 stars on Goodreads because it's really kind of, like, it's a little bit slow, but it's very, like, politics heavy, and, like, there's a lot of court intrigue and you wondering what the heck is going on. And I didn't really like I pronounced it Viviana, like, the entire time, but then I heard other people pronouncing it, and I was like, oh, I think I just pronounced that wrong the whole time in my head. So I did really like Ciri and the God King. I found Light Song interesting. I found the Mercenaries really interesting, and Vasher, of course, because he's just so mysterious. But yeah, I found Viviana very, very frustrating. So that definitely deducted some of the stars for me. But the magic in this was also very confusing, which normally I can catch on to Brandon Sanderson's magic systems really quickly, but this one, even like 3/4 of the way through the book, I was not really sure how breath worked. So that was a little bit confusing at times, but I did really enjoy it, and I've heard this one is really important to the rest of his Cosmere universe, so I'm excited to continue with his books, as always. Oh my gosh, my voice is like slowly disappearing. This is not good. Next up, me and Kate attempted a buddy read of City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. And I say attempted because I think Kate got like 150 pages into it and then DNF'd it. And I almost DNF'd it several times, but I really was so disappointed by this because I was really excited to read it. I'd heard really good reviews of it. It's a beautiful book. It's set in like Egypt and Cairo in like the 1800s with like also a parallel world in there. Well, I guess parallel is the wrong way to put it. It's more like a hidden world. It's about genies and jinn, and I was so excited. And then the pacing was really weird. There was nothing wrong with the writing, and I think this is a debut, so I didn't think there was anything wrong with the writing itself, but the pacing was so strange. Like, there would be points where it would feel almost like a middle grade where it would be like, this character's introduced, and then there's this action scene, and then nothing happens for 100 pages. Like, it was such strange pacing. And people say it gets better about 200 pages in, but I felt like the pacing was just as strange for the rest of the book too, so I didn't really like, what's her name, Nari? I didn't love her as a main character. I didn't like that this was split perspective. Like, I didn't know that going into it, so I was really, like, thrown off by that. I also didn't like the other perspective very much. I didn't like the love interest. I didn't like that it kind of turned into a little bit of a love triangle towards the end. I was like, why are you ruining it with this? Like, I thought it was gonna get better, but things kept happening that were making me more annoyed with it, and I mainly just got really, really frustrated with this, so that was really depressing. And I ended up giving it 3 stars, which is very middle of the road and very low of a rating for like a high fantasy for me, because I normally love them. And Kate kept saying this could be good for people who like high fantasy, but like, I'm a huge fan of high fantasy, and I didn't even really like this, so that's very strange for me. And I think this started to put me in a little bit of a slump, but thankfully I got out of it pretty quick. But I don't know if I'm gonna keep this or continue with the series. I might hold on to it and wait till the second one comes out and decide then, but yeah, not a huge fan. And then I read Bourne, which was fantastic, and I have a reading vlog up for this as well, but I tabbed the crap out of this. I love this world. I loved Bourne. I loved Jeff Vandermeer's writing style. He was just, everything was just so fascinating, and this exceeded my already pretty high expectations, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And I can't wait to read more of Jeff Vandermeer. I feel like I just talked through that so fast after how long it took me to get through City of Brass and explaining why I didn't like it. And then the last book that I've finished is The Spirit-Controlled Temperament by Tim LaHaye. This is the book that I was reading with my pastor's wife for our small group this semester, and I found this really fascinating because it basically, most people can be categorized into 4 temperaments. That explains why their personality is the way it is and why they act the way they do, and why some people are more prone to anger or certain personality traits than others and that type of thing. It is really fascinating. It's kind of more academic than most Christian nonfiction that I read, but I really liked it. I really liked Tim LaHaye, as you might be able to guess, because I've read a decent amount of his books with the Left Behind books, but I really enjoyed this and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Woohoo! Wow, okay, that's a lot. These are all the books that I've read recently. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.